inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Welcome back to the Larry X's Ear Show. Just in case you couldn't guess by looking at me, I am he. I am he. That's right. You know, I am he. I'm looking in the mirror this morning and I say, you know what? You look familiar, guy. And then I'm thinking, wait a minute, I didn't even drink last night. What the hell am I doing? You know, I told myself I had feelings. And then there was another part of me that said, no, Larry, you're cold. You don't have any feelings at all. Then once again, I go to the mirror about to convict an innocent guy. But look here. Oh,
grand jury for you.
Oh, yes. You know, I thank you guys for the emails and text messages I've been getting. And I tell you, I'm so blessed today. And, you know, sometimes when you look at the old cliche thing, you make lemonades out of lemons. And you know, I always say sometimes it only takes one snowflake to cause an avalanche. And the avalanche of emotions that I'm going through right now that snowflake kind of fell on me. And I needed to reach out and get some support on this. And the guest that's on the show today, those two of my favorite people, and I have to start because we're going to jump right into this thing. And before I introduce the guest, I sent out an open letter. And in my open letter due to the verdict that was in Missouri, and I stated, and some of you responded to the open letter, and in fact, Heidi Mueller, sponsor of today's show, responded to the open letter. And in my open letter, I explained that I was born in Mississippi, and I was raised up in the type of poverty that most people can't even imagine, even to this day. And I've seen and witnessed injustice and abuse of power to a degree that most Americans still don't even believe, because my age group doesn't match up with the lifestyle that I lived in growing up with no running water and blah, blah, blah. But as I've traveled around the country and around the world, I've been really, really blessed, then I've seen injustices in so many forms. It has manifested itself all around us, and we all, as an African-American male, that I have been part of the boogeyman in the United States by law, myth, and just simply by reputation of the media. But I sent out a letter that I think that when we're protesting, black people, pick up the American flag. It's your flag.
See, my brother.
Don't just throw up your hands and say, I got the hands up, or throw up the fist. That's okay. That's fine. I'm not saying don't do that. But when the media and white America and the world look at you out on those streets, let them see you wrapped in the American flag. Let them see the American flag around your head, around your elbow, around your ass, whatever. Okay, I said that. But let them see that and claim this country.
That's right.
Claim this flag.
That's right.
And you'll be surprised of the consciousness that we're working with, because we're dealing with a white consciousness. And a lot of white America don't even know they feel like they do until they see you act like a fool.
Teach.
And when you act like a fool, you justify in many minds that want to be on your side You just gave them the door out to say, I can't get involved.
That's right.
But let them see the American flag. Claim it. It is yours. We are here. Now, I've said that, and thank you for participating in this. And I want to introduce you a wonderful gentleman here that has led protests and stood before the firing irons of the media for many, many, many years.
Been shot down.
Jailed,
beat
and beat up, and the whole bit. Mr. Ted Hayes. Ted, thank you for coming in. Shabbat Shalom.
I'm so happy to be here.
And that was the lovely, wonderful Miss Ann that walked in. She's going to say hello. And Ted, thank you for coming.
I'm honored to be here. Really, thank you very much.
So we're going to get right into this, and then the reason I wanted you guys here today, and I thank you so much, and to Mr. Leon Isaac Kennedy.
It's good to be back with you.
Yes, sir. You guys are home now. You're home, and one of the main reasons that I so wanted you to come on today, because you've been a trailblazer. You've opened doors for so many. Without Leon Isaac Kennedy, there wouldn't be some of these Spike Lees, and there wouldn't be some of these Robert Townsend. There wouldn't be, what's the gentleman name that's everybody's really?
Oh, Tyler.
Tyler. There wouldn't be a Tyler Perry if it was not for a Leon Isaac Kennedy. Wow. And my brother, I can tell you I love the work you've done, I love the human that you are, and I really appreciate you being on the show.
It's my pleasure to be here with you, and my pleasure to meet you. I have followed you, but to be in the same room with you and for us to have a chance to talk afterwards, I'm so much looking forward to it, heart to heart.
Vice versa, my brother. Vice versa. Thank you.
So now, what do you? Someone jump in. The verdict starting with the verdict. 'Cause we got the thing just happened in New York, the chokehold thing. And Leon, off camera, you was telling me about some experience that you had. With friends that died from police abuse and some of your own personal experiences.
Well, Larry, I think that all black men have gone through something. You know, between 2005 2012, a white police officer shot and killed a black man on average of twice a week. You and I, all three of us, as black men, have 21% more chance of being shot and killed by a police officer than a white man. Right. So these are statistics that we have to work with and have to work through, really, and also have to survive through. Now, just talking about the LA police force here, it had a national reputation years ago as almost being like a Gestapo.
Yeah, Nazis.
Yeah. Now, my first encounter with the LA police, I was already an actor, and I was on a lunch break. I had left the movie set, and we were driving off to lunch. You know, you only have an hour. And my cousin was driving, and I was sitting on the other side. He was in a Volkswagen, and apparently he made a left-hand turn from the middle lane. That's all I could think of as to what happened. Anyway, long story short, siren came up, blow horn, pull over. So he got out of the car. I was smart enough not to get out of the car because there was only one white officer, and I didn't want two black men to get out of the car and intimidate him. So the next thing I know, he's handcuffing my cousin. So I get out of the car. Now, mind you, I had already been in show business since I was 15 years old. So, you know, I know how to conduct myself and conduct myself in a respectful manner. I got out of the car and in a very calm voice said, "Officer, what seems to be the problem?" And he said, "Let me see your ID." And I said, "I just asked you a question. Why are you asking me for my ID?" And the next thing I know, he had kicked me in the stomach, threw me down on the ground, and pulled a gun to my head. And my cousin yelled out, "Don't move, Leon, he'll kill you."
Yeah, don't move.
So, next thing, now some other cars come, and they take my cousin to police headquarters first. They locked me up in the police car with all the windows up in the middle of the summer. Yeah. So now I'm getting sick, about to vomit. Yeah. So as they now, maybe an hour or two later, are going to take me to the headquarters, I said to them, I'm a member of the press because, I had been in radio, so I had my press card and everything. I said, I'm a member of the press. I said, and you've stepped way out of bounds here. So when they take me in and throw me in the cell, the sergeant then comes in and says, and which one of you is a member of the press? And I say, I am. And he said, let me see your press card. Well, I don't have it on me. I'm locked up.
Yes.
I said, I don't have it on me. I said, but I can show it to you when I can get to my credentials. He said, no, you're one of those smart-ass little niggas. I'm going to really throw the book at you. And so they charged me with interfering with a
Obstruction of justice.
Yeah, with an arrest.
Right.
That was just one encounter. Now, as a young, successful black man here in L.A. driving a Cadillac,
Oh, man.
you know the story. I was stopped at least once a week, convinced of being a drug pusher or whatever the case might be, pimp, whatever. So one atrocity after another. But what I was sharing with you, Larry, is I had a friend that was an actor friend, and he had starred in several motion pictures. Anyway, he was in his front yard, had been married, just had a baby. He was in his front yard chanting. And one of the neighbors, I guess, complained that he had was chanting too loud or whatever, and the police came. And he said, I'm on my own property here, da, da, da. It led into an encounter. Wow. They put a chokehold on, killed him. Oh. Newborn baby, killed him. I could name atrocity after atrocity after atrocity. Now, it changed a lot with Bernard Parks when he became police chief, and he brought more of a humanitarian approach to things. And of course, with the Rodney King riot, that made people change. Mm-hmm. So I later became a member of the police clergy. And with the police clergy, what we would do is sit down with various captains of the police force once a month and talk about complaints that the public had. And we were like a bridge, Ted, between the public and the police, so that we could have better relationships.
Better relationships now, and communication.
Right. Having done that and worked with the police for years and also donated to their benefits, brought stars to their benefits, when they needed a star name and so on and so forth. As recently as a year ago, I was coming home from Holmby Hills, and it was one of those days where I didn't have my hair combed and so on and so forth. So I just put on a rag. But now here's racial profiling. I'm coming from Holmby Hills and I'm driving down Sunset. Now, because I know so many police officers, and really, Ted, I had gotten to the point you can't beat them, join them. So
get on the inside.
Yeah.
Knuckle buck. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I had all types of cards and so on and so forth from police chiefs and so on and so forth. So I had gotten to the point where I was at least friendly with police. Right. And I would say 90% of the officers are good people. Mm-hmm. There's just some that make a bad name and a bad reputation for everyone. So anyway, I'm to a point where I look at them as human beings trying to do a job and trying to help.
You lower the temperature down.
Yes, and I would look them in the eye.
Yes.
Because most people don't.
No.
Before that, I didn't.
Right.
It's better just not to be seen. So this particular day, I'm driving down Sunset. I'm at Sunset Plaza, and there's some police on the sidewalk. So I happened to look. Instead of keeping my eyes straight forward, I looked. And as I'm looking, this officer goes, uh-oh. So I pull over. So I say, what's the problem? Your windows are tinted too much. Oh, man. Wow. Let me see your ID.
I know that story.
So this was, in my opinion, this was racial profiling because I'm looking at all these other cars going by. Now, by the way, I have a Lincoln Town car. They were tinted that way off the dealership.
Yeah, right.
All right. So I'm looking at all the Mercedes going by, all the BMWs going by, all these other high-end cars that were tinted. And I said to him, what about all these other cars? Well, we can't pick out everybody. I said, oh, but you picked out me. So then I show him some of my cards, and I say, I help the police. So what do you want here? Yeah. Well, we're writing you a ticket, and I don't care about the way that you the cards that you have. And then he called me a name.
Oh, no.
So I said, okay, I'll tell you what. I said, since you don't care about these cards that I have and the people that I know, why don't you call your commanding officer and tell him that you're with Mr. Leon Isaac Kennedy. I'm a member of the police clergy, and I don't like your attitude. Wow. Have your commanding officer or your whoever's on watch come down here. But why do you have to go through all that?
Right.
Why do you have to be disrespected just because of the color of your skin?
Yes.
Much less, the ones that have been killed.
It's absolutely mind blowing. And you've been on the front line of Mr. Hayes for many years. And tell us about a little bit of your experience out there.
Well, I grew up in a community in Aberdeen, Maryland, where I grew up in a community in Aberdeen, Maryland, where our parents in those days wouldn't even allow us to call a policeman a cop. We were taught respect these guys because they have the power. You don't want to get in a confrontation because 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose. Use your head. Of course, when I got into drug dealing and all that kind of mess, I was paranoid of the police. And I didn't, feel the heat in the back of your neck. But as I got older and got involved with the homeless and so forth, I remember protesting at some point. I used to call the LAPD Nazis. I remember one night we were out there going, Sieg Heil, Sieg Heil. This is during Daryl Gates days. Mm-hmm. But as I got wiser and smarter, started realizing the only way you're going to beat these guys is belt buckle, get up close to them. And I've confronted Dale Gates to his face.
You mean emotional in conversation, not just run up on the cop.
Oh, no, please don't do that. I mean, as far as, intellectually, but get involved and get close to them. And I used to confront Dale Gates. I confront him in the streets when he was out there bulldozing homeless people's encampments.
Well, I've seen you on camera confronting policemen and people that was against with some of the work that you've done. I've actually seen this on camera watching you do these things. So.
So I've done that, and I've realized oftentimes the police officers, they would put me in the back of the car because I'd just been arrested for a civil disobedience action, and they would say, "All right, Mr. Hayes, what's this all about?" And of course, I lay it on about the homeless. And by the time we get to the station, they're asking me, "Can we take those cuffs off of you? Can we get you some water?" Change their attitudes. And I began to change their attitude. A lot of these police officers on the homeless situation, and they started changing. I learned that 9 times out of 10, if you keep your head cool, you know that power's in front of you. You stay calm, and you will lower that temperature down, and you'll walk. Even if you're doing something wrong, even if you're about to get a ticket, it's happened to me, they'll back off.
But listen to what Mr. Kennedy just said. Why should you have to?
Because the law of nature, the law of the jungle is, if you know there's a lion over there, and he's hungry this time of day, you don't go over there. I use the analogy of this analogy. There's a fence, backyard, and there's a sign that says, "Vicious dog, do not enter." You see the sign, there's a dog inside, the vicious dog. You decide there's something in that yard you want. You jump that fence, the dog tears your butt off. Now, whose fault is that? It's yours. You jumped the fence. Now, if the dog jumps the fence and comes after you, we got another situation there. And that's the problem that we're having in our community. If we don't want the police in our communities, as nasty and racist and bigoted and evil as they are, brother and sister, let's stop doing things to one another that draws the boogeyman into our neighborhood. Brothers tell me, "Hey, Ted, man, it's awful up here in jail, man. They racist and they got us in the Mexicans." I said, brother, if you don't like the man's house, stop doing the things that put you in the man's house.
But how does that? I'm asking a question. How does that fit in? Because some of my audience want to know but the cops are shooting unarmed black men. They're shooting unarmed people in the back.
Again,
moving away.
Who's moving away?
I mean, there have been many cases where black men, young black kids are being shot in the back.
We have been going through that, white people, Europeans, the world who's listening. We black men in America have been going through that ever since the days of slavery.
Absolutely.
And between 1890 something to the present, they had lynched these Ku Klux Klan racist people have lynched 23,000 of us that they can count, and in most of those cases, no one was brought to justice. So we have developed an attitude automatically. Now, be any race of people would have an attitude towards law enforcement authority. Now, I think we should protest it every time we see injustice and fight it. But until we win that fight completely, and I don't think we're going to win the whole fight because there's always going to be a knucklehead out there, we need to use our heads.
No,
Half the
absolutely not.
things we find ourselves getting killed over didn't have to happen.
I agree with that. I totally agree with it. But the same thing, we're dealing with a different generation of black men. So we're dealing with a whole generation of young African American
Then
males.
the elders of our community, you, Leon, me, the ministers, we need to then go out there and sit these brothers down, confront them and talk to them and educate them that that's a vicious dog over there. You don't go over there. This is what you need to do and show them how to do that. That's what I do. That's
No,
what I do. That's what I do.
I get that.
You know,
Leon, you want to jump in on that?
Well, I think that there's got to be several learning curves here. Certainly, we have to have a learning curve with our own people, but also we have to have a learning curve with those that are, quote, in control, the police force and so on and so forth. They have to be held accountable for what they do and don't do and how they treat people. They're supposed to be public servants. They're supposed to protect and serve. They're not supposed to abuse and kill and disrespect and take advantage of people.
Right.
Well, how to see the thing with me, and what you're saying, Ted, makes a lot of sense. I'm totally on board with that. But even with my own experience, I've had some just horrible experiences.
me too.
And here I'm the biggest wimp on the planet. So I know that I'm come from Mississippi. Yes sir, no sir. And I scratch my head when it's not itching. And if the cop tell a joke, it's the funniest damn joke on the planet. But at the same time, why are they not held accountable? You give a rabid dog a gun and a badge, and then you give him, which basically is a white jury pool, that let them off no matter what they do. What's wrong there? What's wrong with it? So it's not just the cop. Let me just say this right here, if you would. I don't just blame the cops in this case. I blame the people that let the cop off. I blame the system for protecting that cop. So when you talk about all these good cops, all due respect, how can they be good if they're covering up for that rot that's within their own system?
Again,
Just devil's advocate here.
that's all right. Again, we talk about the justice system, period. You go down to the jury pool in Los Angeles, and you look in that room and see who ain't there. Every ethno-racial group is in that room but us. And what few of us are in there, we're over in the corner playing cards and making a lot of noise and cutting the food. Our young black men and women go stand before that judge. There's no jury, no one of our ilk to defend them. When our young black men and women go to court, ain't nobody in the courtroom letting that white judge know, or that black judge, that Asian judge know, the community is watching you, Your Honor. We're not going to railroad this child. None of that is there. See, we try to put too much on the white man and the system to take care of us. He ain't going to do it.
Right.
A very prominent elected official told me one day at my Dome Village, we were sitting there discussing this very issue. I knew this cat, he was just a little pup in the police department. He gets up out of his chair. He walks around the table, leans in my face, Leon. Mm-hmm. He says, Ted, if black leaders don't care about black people, why should anybody else care about y'all? And all I could do was say, well, there you go. And that's what's going on here. You hear him say, well, yeah, the cops are killing, what Julian said, cops are killing, police are killing, so many black folks. But why don't we talk about all the blacks who are killing blacks? Why don't we deal with that? And see, because they don't see us doing that to our own neighborhood, they figure, well, it's open season.
And Ted is bringing up a good point here. That's why I said there's got to be an educational process and a metamorphosis on both sides. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about a couple other issues now. Let's talk about this burning and looting and so on and so forth that's been taking place in Ferguson. First of all, when we burn and loot in our own neighborhood.
Of all things.
Yes, and it happens every time there's a
Every
riot.
single
It's
time.
always our own neighborhood.
Every single time.
So who are we really hurting?
And then, we cry about, where's our jobs?
Yeah.
We have no grocery stores.
Yes.
Our community depleted.
And because of what Ted said, the reason that there are no grocery stores or businesses or corporations in the black neighborhood is because they're afraid to invest because people will act a fool
Something might happen.
and burn it down. I applaud Magic Johnson because he's one of the few that were, as a big entrepreneur that came back into the black community and reinvested. And I applaud him for that. But going back to my point, it makes absolutely no sense to grow and learn how to compete in this global economy by burning down your own neighborhood and looting and so on and so forth. And one of the problems is that there are many people that they're frustrated, they want to be heard, and they want the system to change. But then there's other elements that come in, and they're just looking for the opportunity to loot and take advantage of things. So, you know, it's really a very convoluted situation. Then as far as what Ted was saying, we as a people, I really think that we as a people have to really learn how to compete as a minority and win. We're the only group of people I know of that don't even run their own businesses in their own neighborhoods. So if you don't run business in your own neighborhood, how are you ever going to compete in the global economy? And what I mean by that is you go into most black neighborhoods, go to the corner store, they're owned and operated by people of another color. Never blacks.
Another race, that's right.
Never blacks. Even with something about black hair. And Koreans, Chinese, Vietnamese, they can't do black hair. But they sure do own the supply shops
Oh, my brother.
for black
Yes,
hair
they
products.
do.
Brother, you're telling
You
it
know,
all now.
so I could go on and on and on. I could go about the car wash. I could go about the corner store, on and on and on and on. And it's got to stop.
Well, let me address that. Now, number one, we're talking about that image that you just painted, which is absolutely 100% true in some of the major cities. But when you travel across the country into small town America, you go to the court system, you see blacks on the bench, you see blacks in the, you see blacks on the jury pool.
Okay.
When you go to small town America out here, you see black-owned businesses and stuff. So you see a lot of this in the major cities, which I get that. But I have been a business owner in the major cities. And let me tell you what happened in L.A. in the 80s. When we're talking about this, we have to put some things into a little bit of historical perspective here.
Right.
Restaurant, liquor stores, other stuff in the black community. And I had a welding shop. Now, this is a perfect example. I bought a welding shop when I was doing security doors and bars. It was in the 80s. And I'm hiring people. Then the fire department, the taxes, and the health department was in my door every week looking for ways to find me finding something wrong, whether I had too much sawdust. Saw over here, not running. They said I didn't have running water right. Mm-hmm. I take the guy outside, kid you not, within a stone's throw away, some Hispanics, God bless them, was making security doors out of their garage.
Teach, my brother. Tell it.
Now they come back. I have to charge $400 to put 8-foot door by 32, blah blah blah. And the Mexican that doesn't have the overhead, he could do it for $100 or $200. They did nothing to stop that. So when we, as business community and blacks, started to say, "Well, why?" White America says, "Shut up and shush your bitching and moaning and pull yourself up by your bootstrap." Now the same cries that we had in the community, now the white community is crying because the Hispanics are lowering the wage. We was pushed out of warehousing jobs by construction because of lower wages,
gardening,
and so when you look in our community, and then one other thing, we forget that a lot of these Asians, people from other countries,
immigrants,
have people in their country.
Teach, my brother.
Financing them.
Teach.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
It's hard for us to get financing.
That's right.
Well,
but go ahead, please.
Now, I agree with what you're saying. but also we have to learn to stick together more and help each other in
Amen.
business. All right.
Teach.
There's been too much of a crab in the barrel syndrome with us as a people. Too much jealousy, too much fighting and bickering
True.
among one another.
True.
I think if we learn from our Jewish brothers and sisters, first of all, in a Jewish household, they're taught what it means to be a Jewish person.
Yes.
And how to make it as a Jewish person. They support each other. When it comes to the Jewish dollar, it exchanges hands 8 times within the Jewish community before it leaves the Jewish community. Yeah.
If it ever leaves.
And like that's the if it leaves. And Leon, what do you mean by that? Well, Jewish man got paid. He goes to the Jewish shoe repair,
Delicatessens, whatever.
Jewish delicatessen, Jewish dry cleaner, et cetera, et cetera. Within the black community, one purchase, it's gone.
Yes, sir.
So we've got to learn to stick together. We've got to learn to do business together. We've got to learn to what it means to be a minority and flourish as a minority. Now, back to what Ted said here, as far as 23,000 have been lynched.
Right.
Oh,
Murdered.
Yeah, murdered by the KKK. An atrocity.
Yes.
But that number is dwarfed
Yes.
by black on black murder.
Absolutely.
Black men killing black
men.
men. Is it ever going to stop?
Yes.
Are we ever going to start growing up differently?
Yes.
Are we going to start parenting more?
Yes.
We've got a black man in the White House, but I would be more impressed by more black men staying in their houses
Teach.
and being a father and being a provider and being a
Teach.
good husband.
Teach.
I'd be more impressed by that than one
Teach.
black man in the White
Teach.
House. It's a lot of boys out here making babies, but never being a man, staying around to really be a father, to really be a parent, and take care of that kid.
That's true. You know, what I'm working on, I want to address that. We can't address it here today because it's a story. But in a nutshell, I'm working on that very point. That's why I said yes, we will, because we're going to have to. If we don't, we're going to get wiped out. I'm working on something. I'm getting at the root cause of why we black men and women fight each other so much. And I'm realizing we're not really mad at the white man. We're not mad at Tony. Of course not. We are mad at ourselves. We have a guilt complex, and we project our guilt on them. What I mean by that is what I've learned is the way we got in America is not quite the way we've been told how we got here. I was always taught that the white man came down to Africa, invaded the continent, knocked us upside the head, drug us out to them ships, put us on, and brought us to the Americas. That ain't what happened. What happened was the white man came down to Africa looking for commodities, and he saw slavery.
Yeah, we
and he
turned
let
on
his
each other.
greed override his Judeo-Christian ethics. And he wanted to bow down to the money of the God of Mammon, and he bought us and brought us here. But that's not the big crime. The real ground zero, the scene of the crime, the forensics is this. Before that cat showed up, you and me and him, we were over there gangbanging, set tripping, not because of our skin color, but maybe the color of our clothing and garments that we had on, identifying the ethnic nationality that we're from. We're no more different than the Europeans in Europe. They're vicious towards it. They hate each other. If it weren't for the United States, they had another world war over there. It's human nature, but somehow we've been told the myth that because of our skin color, and if we look like that, we're supposed to love one another. No, we're at war with each other. And what we did was when the white man put us on the slave ships, they chained us up, as you know, with different groups, so we couldn't communicate. So people even hated at each other, right? We were mad. And you know, if the brother would have been able to get off that ship, we were scared of the white man, but we didn't hate him. We thought he was crazy to do this to us. But we were, if we could get past the white dude and get back to shore, guess who we were going to kill? The brother that put me on the slave ship. So transfer it up to today. After you get off the slave ship, we get off the slave ship mad, angry with each other. And the only reason why we as a people united, got ourselves united was because of our common fear of the white man. Because as soon as the white man went away, in Jim Crow days, we began this gang banging thing. What we did, Tony, is we resumed the anger of our ancestors. See, we need to make reparations in our heart with each other. We as black men need to sit down and have a conversation with each other and heal from what we did to one another.
Would you
if we're gonna get out of this.
you want to respond to that?
Go ahead, and then I will.
Because now what you're saying, I get a little bit
The
of that.
root of what I'm talking about now.
Yeah, but here again, this is just been food for thought. Now you're
I'm
talking
not hungry.
about you're hungry for knowledge, and I don't have any to feed you, but I appreciate that.
That's still dummy. There.
Now, but now, what you're saying, there were tribal wars around the earth. No matter what
race or color you
Irish
are.
or
Yeah.
Japanese and
Indians,
the Chinese and
yeah.
Korean. You know that's fine and dandy. That was very true.
And
but the type of slavery that we were sold into had never existed before.
I don't question that.
Let me finish. So, but when you're talking about the root of our anger now and what caused
We're mad at
us
each
to
other.
be, yeah, we are mad at each. We're mad at each other.
and don't know it.
Yeah, we.
Because
Okay.
we keep saying it's him. It's
But
him.
Ted, let me finish this thought.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. This is a very passionate thing. The thing about is what was done to us after we got here. All of that was done before to capture this, to capture that. But the thing that was done to us when we was here. Now, here's what happens. This is a reality. We were stripped of anything that absolutely had us to feel ourselves as human beings.
Larry, look, man, I'm with you on that. And anyone who's done any research knows the damage
Yes.
that's chattel slavery. I call it chattel slavery. And Jim Crowism did to us. No question about it.
Yes.
They know it too. They know it better than we know it. Okay? You got a house. Got your wife and kids. Every night you're supposed to lock the door. That's your job as the man of the house to secure the family because you live in a rough neighborhood. You know that. This particular night, you decide, man, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. You go to bed, door wide open. Some knucklehead walks in the house, wrecks mayhem in your home. Now, he goes. Now, we're mad at him. We're going to get him. But who is your wife going to be really angry with?
She's going to be angry with me for not protecting the house.
Brother, please. And that is the worst crime than what they or he did to us. It's like Jesus said. He said, Pilate, you can't do nothing for this because my father's in charge of this. He says, by the way, the guys who turned me over to you, their sin is greater than yours. Now, Pilate beat the Lord down and cut his face up and hung him on the cross and just cut the fool on Christ, right? Then how is it that his crime is worse than what? Because the leaders of the Jewish community at that time snitched him out and sold him out to the barbarian. That's the worst.
Now, but here again, I totally get that. In the Jewish community, we can't compare to the Jewish community because in the Jewish community, a Jewish man could pretend to be Catholic and go to. Let me just finish though. A Jewish man could pretend to be Catholic.
Right.
And go to school under the laws of Catholicism.
Right.
A Jewish person could pretend to be Christian, and he didn't have to let people know that he was Jewish.
Right.
So he had more of a way to go in and out of the
segue.
system like we did.
the skin color.
One thing the Asians,
No.
they didn't deal with their oppressor. They ran from their oppressor over here where we had laid
right.
in blood, sweat, and tears to open the door for the Asians. The
That's right.
Hispanics
That's right.
didn't rise up against their oppressor.
No, they
The
came here.
Jews didn't rise up against their
Nope.
oppressor.
Nope.
None of them.
None
In
of
the
them.
history of mankind, black African American is the only group that has been oppressed by such a brutal oppressor and came up in the same. We didn't get on no boats and go back to Africa. We didn't get on no boat. We couldn't even go to Cuba from here. I'm sorry.
Well, earlier though, you said that we're dealing with a different generation of black men.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So I go along with that. We're dealing with a whole different generation. So what I'm saying here is that we have to quit making excuses for what happened to us in the past, and we've got to deal with the now. And in the now, as a race of people, I see almost two different races of black people going on simultaneously. One is educated, and they have worked their way into society and are doing quite well in society. And then the other one seems like they've gone down in the way they dress, down in the way they speak,
Yep.
down in their education,
true.
down in the way they respect one another.
true.
And so we've got to police ourselves.
Yes, right. yes,
we,
I agree with
we've
that.
got to police our own neighborhoods.
That's right.
We're the ones selling the drugs to one another. We're the ones disrespecting our women. We're the ones doing the black on black crime, the black on black murders, and so on and so forth. I think it starts with us.
You're right.
Yes,
And then it's a rippling effect.
Now, let me, but I'm just being a devil's advocate here just a little bit.
Well, you don't get exercise here too, a little
Now,
bit.
but look here, but we still have to remember something. Now, we're looking at this generation. We got a caller that just called in. Why don't we put the headphones on and take this call? Caller, you're on air. Let us have it. You
What's that?
Caller, you're on air.
Oh, sorry, wrong number.
Okay.
you bet you got the wrong number. No, you got the right number.
Here's what I'm talking about. Putting it in perspective. I'm not condoning it, but you know we as most of these people have had 200-300 years ahead of us in the race. No excuse. It's just a fact.
That's a fact.
So you can't expect for us to keep up with someone that is already a couple of hundred years ahead of us. Let me just finish, please. Now, put that in perspective. Yeah. Now, if you got a group of people that's coming a few hundred years ahead of us educationally, dealing with businesses, dealing with
Economy, all that,
building
yeah.
economy and building communities. Now, guess what? 50, 60 years ago, the Jewish gangs was killing up their community.
That's right.
And moving drugs.
That's right.
Then the Polish gangs started to do the same thing. They were organizing from the street up.
That's right.
Then the Italians, hell, they was bombing people's buildings and stuff down here.
Right.
They some even accused assassinating presidents and stuff like that. So now I'm not condoning it, but because I deal with a lot of the hip hop. Okay, guys, I'm not gonna call your name. Don't get nervous. I've seen now them organizing. The gangs are organizing, and a lot of what you see on the streets, the killing, is money.
Right.
Gang warfare over money.
Right.
Not condoning it,
Right.
but they're doing the same thing that the gangsters and the underworld laid down before them. And I'm gonna say one more thing. We talked about blacks should patronize their own black business.
Yes.
We should go down, but didn't we? Something tell me, I don't remember this, but I think we marched to go and spend money with everybody else.
Come on.
So now,
yeah, you told us.
I'm just trying to say, we should overcome it. I want to go eat at his restaurant. I want to go drink his water because the water is colder.
I want to go to his baseball game.
Yeah, the sugar is sweeter out of that white guy's store over there.
That
And
killed
now that we'll fulfill that, a lot of that we're going out there spending our money the way we was marched and protested to do. And that was organizations from the Nation of Islam and Malcolm X, and all of them warned us that if we do that, this is where we're going to be, and here's where we are. So please.
Well, you know, when it comes to the black economy, at one point, it was completely ignored. It wasn't even wanted. It wasn't solicited.
Yeah.
But now every Fortune 500 company knows that they can't really make a profit unless they get money from the black community and the brown community. It's a big spending community. We are a nation within a nation as far as the type of money that we spend. Probably the 10th largest economic capital in the world as far as being in the free world.
Right about that.
Just black dollars.
That's right.
So we've got to learn to control those dollars, spend them with one another, and own some things. When you own some things, when you have money, you can go to the best school because you own it.
Yes.
You can hire the best teachers. You can be in a great neighborhood because you have the money to do so.
You bought it.
Ownership.
Yeah, but it's not just money. It's also teaching respect.
Yes.
Respecting, first of all, yourself. So let's talk to some of the young ladies, the young black ladies that are listening for a moment. Honey, I want you to learn to respect yourself. When you respect yourself, then other people will start to respect you. That's right. And I want you young ladies to really listen. I know you think you're grown, but at 15, 16, 17 years old,
come on,
you don't need to lay up and have a baby by some man by some boy that's not even going to be around to help you raise that baby. It's a big responsibility to have a baby. And when you're 16, 17 years old, there's so much of a big world out here for you to see. There's so much for you to do. You can have motherhood later, and you can have motherhood
Yes.
with a real man that will cherish you and the kid.
Right.
So we've got to learn to respect and honor one another. If you learn to honor yourself, you won't take these drugs. If you learn to honor yourself and then honor somebody else, you won't recruit a little 14-year-old to start doing drugs and selling drugs within junior high.
Yes.
There's a lot of self-policing that has to take place.
Yes, sir.
You know, you gave a message to the women. I need to give a message to the talented tenth of our people who've been blessed to be where they are, to be in the entertainment industry, athletes, corporate executives. It seems to me that whenever we get that power, we tend to run from these folks back in the community. All of our, when integration came, the spooks by the door, we used to call them, the upward mobile blacks in the black neighborhood, we were jealous of them. We used to harass them because they were more together. But when they left, we felt a vacuum. We needed them. We needed something to look up to.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying to the talented tenth, y'all need to come back into the neighborhood with that blessing that you have been given, that you earned probably on our back, on our namesake. Out there with the homeless. I had tried over the years, Leon and Larry and everybody. I would go to the African American leaders in the community, begging them, please help me with your people out here in the streets. Wouldn't touch it. I went to Farrakhan, Danny Bakewell. I went to certain entertainment people. I tried. Marla Gibbs helped me a little bit there. But I couldn't get the help from the mayor, couldn't get it from our African-American leaders. And white folks and other non-blacks look at me and say, Ted, you know, these are all black folks out there in the streets. How come your own people don't help you? And I have to, you know, fight that off. Say, well, that doesn't give you the license to not help out, that type of thing, you know. And that's a lot of the problem right there. I think that, you know, Leon has wisdom, I have wisdom, you have wisdom, a lot of us have it, but we need to convene.
You know, I
Pull us together
Yes.
in a room and say, now, brothers and sisters, this is the problem. How are we going to use our resource intelligence to resolve this? Let's stop telling these kids to pull their pants up. Let's show them how to pull their pants up.
Well, you know, God, man, this hour's going by so fast. And I love the passion here. I love the passion.
And I had some more things to tell you,
know.
too, man.
I got to speak to upstairs and see what he help us, let us do.
I want to tell you about the time.
He said we can because what you guys are saying is so real, but we have to touch on this right here. Does that justify shooting and killing young black men with
not.
the
No,
police?
it doesn't.
Absolutely not.
Because the thing about it, and I'm going to go real tight here, you and I fighting each other. You have a right to fight back. If I walk out there, although it's going to be a young black man that probably will try to rob me, I have the right to fight him back. But I can't fight that gun and a badge back.
Therefore, don't jump the fence.
I understand it, but a lot of times you don't have the choice. They come over to the fence and drag you in there. So my point is, but let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. And because of the sake of time, you guys have to Google this. Don't trust me, just Google this. 84 to 90% of white on white crimes is white on white crime.
Of course.
White murder is off the chain in America.
Okay.
It's one of the it's actually even being called an epidemic
Wow.
in white America.
Okay.
White America is now being toned down because of the fear of white America uprising in the country now.
Okay.
What we don't know is that we look in Alabama, a white kid was shot and killed by the cops. They let the cop off. They called the cop non-black. He was African American. In Utah,
In Utah, here was one in Utah, brother.
a
shot
black
that cat,
kid
man.
just got shot. A white kid just
White
got
kid,
shot
a
by
black
a
cop.
cop.
That's right.
And the kid was let off. In Arizona, a white man.
The cop was let off.
The cop was let off. In Arizona, a white man was shot because he did said a racial slur to a cop, a black cop, and they refused to prosecute the black cop. Wow. So, and it's on, and a white cop just beat a pregnant white woman in Nashville. My point is, we're living in what a police state. We are getting more of the attention because we are out there.
More so.
We're out there more so. We're fighting back. But I think what is happening here, we need to do all of these other things. We need to clean up this. We need to clean up that. But we have an out of control police department in America, and it is a police state that we're living under. When they did 9/11, they gave up all their freedoms. They're spying on it. They let the government spy on us. Then one of the keys to a police state is spying on a citizen, keeping their wages low, and then bringing in the military into a city. So what do you think about the concept of that?
I think that it's a dead end street. It's a hopeless view of life, because if that is the case, then we're done. We may as well head for the hill.
We're not done. We just have
done.
a bigger battle than what we think.
And I think the way we win the battle is, number one, we recognize a vicious dog and do everything in our power to stay away from that dog, or chain that dog, or train that dog, one or the other. But we cannot just expect the dog to take care of himself.
I agree
He ain't
with
gonna
you,
do that.
but that's what I'm saying.
If I was a police
officer,
officer, if I was a police officer, that's why I can't be a police officer. Because I'd have shot me somebody along or bust somebody up. But I don't care what color you are. You know why? Because I'm scared. I'm scared. I want to go home tonight. I see y'all in the videos. I
but
see
go to
y'all
Walmart
statistics.
and work.
Huh? Walmart ain't
job at
paying
Wal-
me enough. I know it's a hazard. That's why I'm not a cop. That's why I couldn't do it, because I'll hurt somebody.
But
Not bring disparagement from the department.
Mr. Kennedy is the quiet voice here, so you're keeping me calm today. So that's
No, I just try and think things through. I try and pray things through.
But what I just throw it on the table there because of sake of time, the possibility of living on a police state, because that was just an example of what the police are doing that is not getting to the media. So once you go do the research, you'll be able to see that the police are killing its citizens throughout
Period.
America.
It's happening overseas. It's happening around the world.
Well, we're talking about America, though. I can't,
But the world's watching too.
Yes.
And so, but look, again, we're never going to have a perfect law enforcement system. If we want to tame the beast, we are going to have to tame ourselves. That's how we're going to get around
But
this.
then a citizen of America, I say citizen, not
Citizens.
just black people.
Right, citizens.
See, this is about the death of Hispanics that's being done by the police department. Someone gave me some information about the Korean community is scared to death of the police department now, but they're not speaking out. The Hispanic community is scared to death of the police department. You can ask them.
But let
me just say this real quick, please. Let me just say
Sure.
this. I'm just saying, how do we get the citizens of America to get together and change some of these laws with that and how we govern our police department?
Again, no matter how many laws you write, unless you're able to control it, they're going to break the laws.
How do we control
laws?
it?
Like I said, we got to control ourselves first.
Yes.
Like I said in the beginning of the conversation, if you don't want the police in your neighborhood, don't do the things in your neighborhood to draw them. I'm going to start a petition one day, and the petition is going to be LAPD out of South Central. Sign this petition. I bet you I won't get one signature.
No.
That's the bottom line.
Because
what
we
I'm trying to
need
say.
them, you know.
That's the bottom line.
We
what I'm
need the
trying to say.
policemen. We need them. We need them.
And we need to identify the bad guys, weed them suckers out, big time.
Look at the officer that was here that went on a shooting rampage of other policemen.
Yeah, I saw that. The brother that they finally
brother.
killed in San Bernardino, up in the mountains there.
He told us in all those letters what was going
going
on.
on.
What was going on in the police department, and this is just how the police department is being ran ever since Homeland Security, ever since 9/11.
But you know something though, when Rodney King got beaten up out there, I knew a lot of black officers, man, LAPD, top brass officers, including Bernard Parks. What was them brothers doing? Nothing.
I agree.
They were not doing nothing to check them cats out.
I agree.
And I also understood something else, too, when Tom Bradley became a police officer, okay? After the civil rights movement had said we need more blacks on the LAPD, and they started hiring blacks, and the white boys calmed down. The word I get on the streets is Tom Bradley and some of the brothers, when they get to
Bradley
beat the
was
brothers
brutal.
down every bear in front of white guys. White guys go,
he was
so
doing
it's back on.
He was proving himself.
And see, so what we need to do as black folks, We need to call the black LAPD sheriffs into a room with us. And we need to
I'm
talk
there.
with them brothers and sisters. Say, y'all, what y'all doing
Let's
about
do that.
this? Y'all want to do that? You want to do that?
I'll absolutely be there.
Let's
Let's
call a
reach out to
meeting
'em.
of the brass and LAPD black officers, black union, into a room, and let's say, brothers, what's up, y'all?
I'll
Let's start
absolutely
about
be there.
that just now.
Well,
It's inspirational.
like-
You there, Leon?
I'm there.
I know
like
you can
this.
pull them too.
I like this passionate conversation that we are having here. I want to say, before we go, I want us to say happy birthday to Dr. Joy. And we're going to close this show down here in a few seconds. But before we do that, I got to say happy birthday to you, Dr. Joy.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, the wonderful Dr. Joy.
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya.
That's one song that no one knows how to end it.
I know. Lord. Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah, please.
How discipline saved my life.
Sure.
Back in 2000, there was a convention, Democrat convention, and we had an agreement with the anarchists to get the stage when they were done. Where the stupid young kids got to throwing rocks and bottles at the police. So the police jumped off the fence and came after them and just chased them, hundreds of them down the street, and they caused me to not have our rally. So I said, no, we're gonna have our rally anyway. So we had 100 people, we're marching, and all these hundreds of people were running this way from the police. And when they saw me out there in my white clothes and this American flag going toward the police department, hundreds of kids turned around, got behind. I didn't know they were behind me, right? And I'm walking, and police about 20 yards away. They opened up, booyah, and shot me with a rubber barrel, knocked me on my butt, right? And so I'm laying there face down, and everybody's pushing, shooting going on, and this police officer puts his knee on the back of my neck, and my face is like down there, brother, in New York, on the concrete. I knew I'd better not move. I'd better go limp and take this, because if I move, he'll break my neck. And I thought, if they kill me, this town will burn for sure. A lot of people will be innocently hurt. Be still, Ted, be still. And I lived. And what I'm saying to you, brothers, I know what it's like to be under that foot. Whatever you do, brothers, stop, think, take a deep breath, count to 10. That man has everything on his side. Even if you beat him down, they're still going to get you, brother.
Yes,
So
sir.
remember that. Little discipline. We're the three of us here, we're elders. We're not preaching at you. We're telling you from experience what the deal is. We're trying to save your life, because you know what? It's good to reach our age.
It's
You don't know what it's like until you reach our age.
Wow, man, this has been really, 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 really wonderful. I've enjoyed this, and we're coming up on the end of the show. So what I would like to do, give each and everyone an opportunity to just leave us with some words of wisdom, starting with you, Mr. Ted. Lead the audience, the young people, with a few words of wisdom there.
By the way, young people, I didn't sue the police department for shooting me that night. You know why I didn't do that? As everybody told me I should? Because I was in the wrong. I was in the wrong. If you don't want to get into confrontation with these cats, make sure you're not selling drugs. Make sure you're not selling cigarettes, illegal cigarettes in front of a store that's trying to sell cigarettes. Make sure you're not walking down the middle of the street after you just robbed the place. Sneak your butt home and lay low. Don't be out there fronting.
Okay. Mr. Kennedy, please leave us with some words of wisdom.
You know, you said earlier, Larry, that it's a different generation. But I would hope and pray that this generation would take some time to reflect on the blood and sweat and tears and heartbreak that the generations before them went.
That's right.
To open up doors, to open up opportunities.
That's right.
It's your generation now. What are you going to do with it?
Oh, that's a great word.
Oh man, I really appreciate that, and I'm just gonna have to say the same thing. I so agree with you guys, and thank you guys so much for coming to the show. We got to do this again. It's a lot of more stuff to talk about here, and I really want to tell the protesters, both black, whites, and white America, pay attention to the police department, because it's getting out of control. And I know it's not the whole police. I know there's good guys on the police force. I get that. But we're talking about rooting out the poison. There's a cancer that's within our law enforcement. There's a cancer that's in our corporation. There's a cancer that's within our legal injustice system. There's a cancer there. And we have to work collectively to cut out that cancer. we as African Americans, we are responsible for our action. We are responsible for our children. Just like these gentlemen said, excuse me, I'm a little bit choked up here, that young men stop laying down with women and getting them pregnant and you don't intend to take care of the children. The young women stop laying down with someone because he got a fancy car, a loud stereo, and fancy rims on his car. That does not make him a successful man. What makes him a successful man is his spirit and how he treats you and his community. I want to thank you. And don't forget the American flag.
That's right.
Pick up the flag while you let us see a sea of flags out there. Once again, this is Larry XSE's show. Remember, a nation can rise no higher than it elevates its woman. Thank you, Mr. Leon Isaac Kennedy, Ted Hayes,
Thank you.
Tony. And see you next time.